How's it going, everybody? If my internet doesn't fail us, we will have a full show today with Tyler and John from Sound Up Seattle. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great, man. I just spent 7.5 hours on the road, and I'm ready to pod at 12:30 in the morning my time.
Yeah, I was kind of thrown off by that when you texted me because you're like 8 p.m. your time, and I was like, I thought you guys were from Seattle. What's going on? How about you, John? How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, we got Tyler out on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. One of us is still repping Seattle. Tyler will be back in town at some point. But yeah, good to be on. Obviously, a big Seattle week to talk about with Mariners rolling and some big draft moves.
Yeah, spring game on Friday too. Are you guys Huskies fans too? Tell us like a little bit. I guess like how you became Seattle sports fans. I know you're from there, but like, what are your biggest sports you usually watch? I guess that sounds dumb, but what teams are you the biggest fans of?
So I'm a UW guy. I rep UW through and through. Grew up. My parents went to UW, so I grew up going to the football games and all that kind of stuff. And they've had season tickets while I was there in college too. So I went basically every home game until I moved to the east side, and then probably I would say I'm our Mariners guy. I would say I'm the more baseball head of the two of us, and John's more basketball and football. But we like to get into some Kraken discussion and some Sounders discussion as well. We're all over the place.
You lost me at the last two, but that's fine. I'm not a soccer or a hockey guy whatsoever. Go ahead, John.
We're learning to be.
Kraken are making it as hard as possible to be hockey fans, I'll tell you. But I'm a Seattle guy as well. Grew up in Puget Sound. I went to Gonzaga, so I'm a big Zag basketball guy, but I do root for UW football, in the big East-West side rivalry.
Yeah.
Definitely rep the purple. I like the Nerds, but, it's funny. I love Seattle sports, but my fandom's actually pretty broad. I'm like a Cubs and a Colts fan, but, I like rooting for the hometown teams as well, so obviously like to root for the Nerds and the Hawks. But yeah, I feel like we met up in grad school and both love sports. So just I've always had a good time chopping it up.
Side note, grad school was Oregon State. So we rep the Beavers as well on our pod.
Yeah, still Pac-2 representation.
I'm a Bates Technical College guy myself. So I didn't make it as far as you guys did. But yeah, I guess what do you guys want to get into first? You want to get into the Seahawks draft? Because I guess that's kind of heavy. I mean, other than the Mariners, but Seahawks draft, I guess the biggest news is obviously drafting a quarterback in the third round with Jalen Milroe. But I think the biggest pick is going to be the guard. Our offensive line sucked ass last year, and they've sucked ass the last 10 years. I realize one guard isn't going to make the world a difference, but it's definitely an upgrade over Lake and Tomlinson, who they had in that spot last year. And Christian Haynes filled in at that spot a little bit. I don't know. I feel a lot more comfortable about the left side of the offensive line than I did going into Thursday.
Yeah, man, I love the Grey Zabel pick. I mean, he's just like a huge traits guy. Obviously, playing D2 ball at North Dakota State. So he's not necessarily getting those reps against other NFL guys, but, they play high-level competition there. And, man, he's just a big body, 6'6", 312 pounds. And, this has been a need they should have addressed for the last 6 years, it seems like. So to take the first pick. Yeah.
Longer than that. Yeah, no, it's been so I've been saying I tell everybody that comes on here. The last time the Seahawks had a good offensive line was 2005. And ever since then it's been either meh or bad. I mean, honestly, so like even the 2013 Super Bowl champion offensive line, I mean, you had, let's think about it, Russell Okung, Paul McQuiston, Max Unger, Breno Giacomini, and James Carpenter. Those were the 5 starters. There's one Pro Bowler on that list, and that's Russell Okung. Actually, I lied. Max Unger.
I was going to say
Max Unger. Yeah. And then they let go of Unger, and it kind of all went downhill from there. So
quickly,
rapidly. Russell Okung is actually the only offensive lineman that John Schneider has ever drafted that's made a Pro Bowl.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also like, as you think about it, John Schneider he's just not known for drafting or developing linemen. They're known for kind of acquiring linemen and having them already be good. And they just haven't really been
not
able
even that.
Yeah,
I guess Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown was about the only one. So
they're known for trying to make it work with free agency. Sorry, I should say that. Trying to make it work with free agency.
Yeah, like Luke Jokel was a guy we had. Who else? DJ Fluker. He was actually pretty decent. We brought J.R. Sweezy back. I think Justin Britt did a good job. He was drafted by John Schneider. Same with Sweezy, but a lot of these guys. I think Ifedi. I don't know how you guys feel. You remember Jermaine Ifedi. He was like by far the worst right tackle I've ever seen in my life. And hopefully Grey Zabel can make up for that. Let's say hi to Philly Special Cards and David Niner. How you guys doing? Make sure you subscribe to these guys' podcast. The link is in the description. Sorry about that.
Appreciate the shout out, man.
Yeah, I love that.
Anybody that comments. Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe. We can talk about offensive line, and there's time for it, but I do think you were right that I love this Seahawks draft, and I think they got a lot of great players, but there's no guy with a higher ceiling and a lower floor, maybe in the entire draft, higher ceiling, lower floor than Jalen Milroe. So, Tyler, Joe, just break down for me. I know I have my own thoughts on him, but what do you guys think about Jalen? How excited or trepidatious are you feeling about him?
I think for me, looking at Jalen is he's just kind of everybody's compared him to Lamar in the sense of like Mike Macdonald has worked with Lamar before, but I think he's his own player. And to look at him in the sense of like he's looking at him as a dual threat quarterback, not necessarily as a Lamar comp, but just as a guy who can be mobile and seems sturdy enough in the pocket as well as being able to get outside. Obviously, there's a little concern about his decision making and that kind of thing, but that's something that you can develop over the first couple of years. We've got Sam Darnold right now. We've got a good enough backup repertoire that it's not like he needs to come in and be great. They're going to give him opportunities to shine, which I think is a great spot for a guy that you're taking a flyer on in round 3. It's like, let this guy get the opportunity when the opportunity is there and available for him to do it in a game that either doesn't really matter or it's just like it's not going to be something that highly impacts his long-term career. So I really like the pick and just Jalen's opportunity to come to Seattle.
Yeah, I think the weird thing with Milroe is his accuracy issues aren't deep down the field. I think like either Tyler or John said, I'm sorry, I spaced out for a second, but I think it's more the decision making thing, right? That's why his short accuracy isn't there. I think you guys will get a kick out of this, seeing that you are UW fans. I joke around that, he looked great under Saban. It must have been that head coach he had last year. He must have not done a good job coaching him up. But no, I'm excited. I don't think there needs to be a bunch of expectations put on him like a lot of fans. I don't want to hear fans calling for him after Sam Darnold does bad in 3 weeks. Because that's going to ruin him. If he's going to be anything, I think you let him sit for a whole year. If not, worst case scenario, we're out of the playoffs in December. And I don't think we are. I think we're going to be a wild card team, might even win the division. But I'm just saying worst case scenario for him, we're out of the playoffs in late December. And he comes in and fills in to get some snaps. Kind of like Penix did last year, even though they were technically still in it when Penix came in. Cousins just sucked. But yeah, I don't know. I'm honestly, I didn't bring him up, but that Emmanwori, the safety, I am really excited for. It seems like he's like the Cam Chancellor 2.0. He was saying, I don't know if you guys saw that. He said, they go, okay, say it's third down. You need to get a stop. Receiver's crouching your face. Do you go for the hit or pick the ball off? He goes, usually I'll pick the ball off unless it's a 49er, and then I'll lay the wood. So he's already a Seahawk. I love it. He's wearing number 3. I don't know how you guys feel about Russ. I couldn't stand him. So I'm stoked that somebody else is repping number 3. Go ahead about Emmanwori. I mean, I'm excited. It seems like we're building an elite back end again.
John, go for it. I'll go after you.
Number 3 reclamation tour. I love it as well. We all miss rookie Russ, but nobody's missed him at the end. He's awesome. There were a lot of mock drafts that were having us take him in the first round at 18. So the fact that we were able to trade up and get him at 35 is just awesome value. I think, to get 6'3", 220 pounds, that kind of size at safety is just a real boon. The Cam Chancellor connections have been beaten to death, but I mean, they know each other. They shared a positional coach. They've had meetings, well before this draft. So just kind of funny to be getting a guy with so many overlaps of Cam back into that position. I mean, it is a need for sure. I think the ordering of picks in this draft were really well done, just in terms of you have to address the offensive line. We're kind of going backwards a little bit, but even if Zabel's a bust, I'm just glad that the organization said, let's take a first round pick and put it towards an offensive lineman. I think that's just the right mindset. And then, Mike McDonald, Ravens defense, he's going to want some elite safeties. So I thought it was a smart, heady pick. He's going to fit right in. Classic Seahawk type player. Yeah,
I think you look at Jalen Milroe, and Jalen Milroe was like the swing, the big talking point of the draft. You got the offensive line addressment that the whole fan base was clamoring for, and then you've got Nick Emmanwori, who Mike McDonald, I'm sure, was in the war room, just like, give me this man. He's basically the Kyle Hamilton. Everybody's been comparing him to that guy, along with the Cam Chancellor comps. He's a great player that I think Mike McDonald can really use. He'll figure out how to rotate him in with the Kobe Bryant, Julian Love situation. And with those 3 safeties, whether it's, he gets a third of this, I don't think he'll get a third of the snaps, but once he figures out how to use him, he's going to be just perfectly executing whatever Mike McDonald wants. And I think that's going to be really where Emmanwori shines. I think this first year is just going to show us how good of a coach Mike McDonald is with the players that he has taken under, kind of his first year at the helm.
Yeah, and you guys, the Cam Chancellor comps, I get it, but it's a completely different defense than they were running back then. And then, it's just there's never. I've said this before when they've even Quandre Diggs, they go, oh, he's the next Earl Thomas. There's not going to be another Earl Thomas. There's not going to be another Cam Chancellor. There's not going to be another Richard Sherman. But if these guys can make a name for themselves. If it is an elite defense, which I would like it to be, and have a nickname, I just hope to God they don't call it the Legion of Boom 2.0. Come up with something original,
Start that on this podcast. We're gonna get something different out there.
Yeah, I mean they've been saying Legion of Boom 2.0 since 2018, and there's been nothing. I mean, the second half of last year was awesome, and you'll notice that with Mike McDonald's Ravens teams too. I think they're like mid-20s in the first half of the season. And then the second half of the season, they're top 5 every year. So I think that has to do with the opposite of Pete Carroll's defense, to where everything was kind of straight ahead. We're running cover 3. We're running cover 1. Earl, you're going to be back there, helping out the right side of the defense, basically shading towards the side that Richard's not on. I just think it's pretty complicated. It's going to take probably 6 games to get everybody in sync again. And I think by the second half of the season, you'll be seeing, like Emmanwori, really making a difference. But I wouldn't expect it right out of the gate. And then Philly brought up Elijah Arroyo. That's kind of interesting because I didn't really see him going tight end right there. And I don't know. That one didn't excite me too much. I know he led the FBS in like yards per reception for tight ends, but it's just, I don't know. Every time I see a tight end, I can't get excited.
John and I talked previously, probably a few weeks ago. We were kind of talking about, okay, the Seahawks season has ended. Where do we want them to go? And I think the tight end spot is something that the Seahawks have never really valued. And so to see them take 2 flyers on a couple tight ends is exciting for me. But I agree with you that, was it TJ Warren? The guy from Penn State was kind of the only guy that I was excited about as a tight end coming into
he
the draft.
Almost dropped to us, dude. He was like 4 picks away. I was calling for it. I was like, come on, nobody take him. Nobody.
We were like,
we'll
drop the offensive line pick if we get a good tight end.
I was totally going for it, dude. I did a live stream with Seahawks. We do a Seahawks coast to coast. He's from Pennsylvania, and the whole time I'm like, dude, Tyler Warren's gonna drop to us. He's like, he's not dropping to us, and he didn't.
Yeah, cold snag. Hate to see it. But
yeah, John was excited about that one.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm gonna zag a little bit on the Arroyo pick. I think he's great. People kind of forget, seasons being what they are, but going into this year, it was a three-headed, Mount Rushmore of tight ends. It was Loveland, Warren, and Arroyo were all in the exact same conversation. The only difference between him and those 2 first-round picks is that he's had some injury issues, obviously dealing with the ACL, has missed a pretty significant amount of time over the last couple of years. But him and Loveland were the 2 where it's like, oh, these guys are big, fast, strong, and they are wide receivers with size. Warren's the only one that's a true tight end and like the Gronkowski blocking size, physicality, but needs to develop his route running a bit. I think Loveland and Arroyo are almost twins out there offensively. And to get a guy in late second round, Loveland went number 10 to the Bears. I think those 2 guys are equivalent. I think, I'm with you, Joe. Tight ends are historically unsexy and never fun to see drafted. But I think when we look back at 2025, it's going to be the wide receiver or the tight end draft. I think all 3 of these guys are going to be, 10-year vets in the NFL. So, yeah, I think getting a guy like that late second round, this receiving core needs help with all the departures. And he is, he's not a pure tight end. He is a receiving tight end. He's going to be a big boon to Darnold.
Yeah. DK's gone. I think they use the Steelers pick to kind of move up to get Emmanwori, or was that the one that Arroyo was taken with, or was he in the 3rd round?
I think they threw the 3rd round pick toward. Was that the one they threw to the Browns to move up into that spot, and then the Browns dropped back? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I don't remember exactly whose pick it was, but
draft day grades are just a mess.
Regardless, I'm kind of happy DK is gone. Not because I didn't have a problem with DK like a lot of fans did. I just don't think he was worth the $30 million the way that we've been using him since really every year except for 2020. Really just the first half of 2020. So I'm not too sad to see him go. He said he wanted to go to a place with a stable quarterback's position and warm weather. And right now they have who's their quarterback? Right? Mason Rudolph and Pittsburgh.
They're gonna sign Aaron Rodgers for too much money. Is what's gonna happen out there.
I hope he decides to retire.
I hope he doesn't, but they're going to do it.
I hope
yours or something in Pittsburgh. They got one of those mediocre.
Will Howard.
They did get. They got Will Howard.
Speaking of white, the Seahawks got a lot whiter during this particular offseason. I'm not really for it, to be completely honest, but we'll see how this works. When they drafted Milroe, I was shocked that it wasn't Will Howard or Riley Leonard. Just judging based off the complexion they seem to be going with this offseason. So,
well, in that regard, the draft was quite a boon because
in Iowa tackle and North Dakota State guard, they got it going on. So
they like those corn-fed boys.
I don't know if you saw. I really like the fact that Grey Zabel was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna pound some Busch Lights." And then that tackle from Iowa, not Iowa State, Iowa said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna pound a bunch of Miller Lights to celebrate getting drafted." I kind of like an offensive lineman like that,
Yeah, man, we got 3 of them. Yeah, Mason Richmond out of Iowa, and then Bryce Kelladue out of Kansas. We got 3 6'6", 300-pound corn-fed offensive linemen. It's a bad day to be a Busch Light in Seattle. But yeah, that's where I just I do love some corn-fed guys on the offensive line.
Wait till they discover Rainier beer. That's what all the locker room.
It's going to be a problem in that locker room.
Yeah. Remember the Red Sox drinking beer in the clubhouse a couple of years ago? Or I guess it'd be like 8 years ago now. That's going to be the Seahawks offensive lineman during training camp.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, I just think it's pretty clear what the vision was for this draft. It's, it's size and athleticism. And, obviously as you get into the later rounds, those traits are harder to find. I do think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you guys have takes, other than Zabel, Emmanwori, and Milroe, our other 3 next picks are all, studs with great size and great athleticism that all have injury issues. Obviously, Arroyo with the ACL, and then Mills and Horton, Riley Mills, the DL out of Notre Dame, and Torrey Horton, the Colorado State wide receiver, both dealt with knee injuries this last year. So it's like, yeah, you're getting them at a discount because both those guys have tremendous talent, but fill in a locker room with big, fast guys that have gotten hurt in the past. I'm not sure where your thoughts are there.
Yeah, no, it's at least they went late, right? It's not like you're taking a first round flyer on a guy that has, or I mean even a second round flyer on a guy that had a torn ACL coming into the season.
Sure. Yeah, a couple of 5th round picks. Arroyo was a late 2nd rounder, but he's been.
Oh yeah, so my bad about Arroyo. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he wasn't an ACL guy, so that might color that pick a little bit. But yeah. 5th round picks. I see what you're saying.
I kind of like just taking a flyer on guys who fell due to injury because the Seahawks had the opportunity to meet with these guys as podcasters. We don't really know how their recovery went, but I'm sure the Seahawks know, where they stand relatively in terms of their recovery process and how they feel that they're going to be in terms of coming off that post rehab, whether they're going to be 100% or 80 or 90% of what they were. And when it comes to guys, Torrey Horton, that wide receiver out of Colorado State, I really like him. I feel like he's got the potential to be more of an explosive guy in terms of kind of similar to a DK type, just, not the physicality, but the straight route runner, good speed, good 40, 6'3", 200 pounds. Like he's just a good size receiver to come in. So I like the idea of just the Seahawks taking athletic guys in those later rounds that maybe were a little bit devalued, while also addressing all of the needs that kind of everybody wanted coming into the offseason. So I like him. I think we all have said it's a pretty good draft, and I think that's kind of a good encompassment of it.
And we won't know until the season starts whether it's a good draft. It's just basically whether what we like. Like obviously we think they did the right things, right? But there's been so many times where we're like, oh, they did the right things, but they didn't. But I trust Sean Snyder. I don't know about you guys, but he's done a lot more right than he has wrong since he's been here. You guys grew up here, right? And I'm assuming you're the same age as me. I'm 27. How old are you guys?
28.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. So you guys kind of remember the Mike Holmgren and then the 1 year of Jim Mora. It was never like we expect to win the Super Bowl. And then him and Pete came after 3 years. It's we expect to win the Super Bowl every year. Maybe we didn't do it, but that was kind of the expectation until like 2019. Or 2018 when the LB left. So I want to give a shout out to people in the comments really quick. Stuart, he said I'm number 3. I think that means in comments. Go Hawks. Carmen, excited about our new wide receiver draft picks. Yeah, and we got that guy from UNLV, the special team. Sounds like he's kind of a return guy, which we really needed. Because that Chenault last year killed me until they cut him. Bush Light and Major Stash, our former boys, are going to plow back the 49ers. And Alpha sucks at mock drafts. I'm so happy the Niners didn't address the offensive line. Leon Murphy going to feed on their interior offensive line. I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but like I said earlier, these guys' link is in the description. So make sure you click on that. Make sure to subscribe. But yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed too. It seemed like every 49ers draft pick was on the defensive line, just from what I saw. So I was super stoked that they didn't go offensive line because I think they're going to need it going into this year, especially with Trent Williams being like 90.
Yeah, they literally.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead, T.
I was going to say, I think the return of Byron Murphy is something that the Seahawks can't discount there. Just one of those comments had mentioned it, and we kind of forgot about how he spent a lot of last season on the IL. And yeah, I mean, the 49ers specifically, like they let go of a lot of their defensive players. So they kind of had to restock and replenish everything there. It feels great. It feels great that the 49ers might just be the number 4 team in the NFC West for the first time in a decade and a half. So it's going to be a nice reckoning for the Seahawks, hopefully.
I don't know. What the 49ers seem to do is they're really good for like 2-3 years, and then they suck for 2 years. And then they're good for 2 or 3 years, and then they suck. And then they get to draft a guy like Nick Bosa, number 2 overall. Where the Seahawks have never had that luxury, right? We had Devin Witherspoon at 5, and that's because the Broncos suck that bad. So go ahead, John. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're all good, man. I just think, yes, in the short term, I'm also glad that they didn't, address the offensive line issues. But if you look at what they did, they went edge, DL, linebacker, cornerback, DL, and then a couple, receivers, a couple offensive players. But one thing the Niners are always good at is keeping that defense stout. And it seems like, every couple years they'll lose 2 or 3 big names off their defense. And people, are like, okay, this defense is going to fold. But, man, they put a lot of draft capital into that defense. And, yeah, there's a chance they drop down to number 4. I think the NFC West is going to be an absolute blender this year. But, I wouldn't count on their defense not being potentially the best in the division. That was a triple negative.
Hey, calm down, John. Can you stop killing the vibe?
No, I would say with regards to the 49ers defense, it's kind of similar to the Seahawks offense. It's like you don't know till you see it, or Seahawks offensive line. You don't know till you see it when it comes to like, we don't really know how this offensive line is going to perform. We obviously think it'll be better than the last few years, but at the end of the day, these are all going to be rookies, or a lot of it's going to be rookies. Same thing with the 49ers. It's like Jedd Fisch for the Rams last year was awesome out of Florida State, but nobody knew that he was going to be that good. People liked that pick, but people thought Byron Murphy was going to be awesome. And so it's kind of a crapshoot in the same way that the draft. I think he will be too, but it's kind of a crapshoot in the way that the draft, you don't know what happens until you actually get these players on the field and play in these games. So at the end of the day, based on what we say, I think the Seahawks might be able to capitalize on this 49ers not taking the offensive lineman and restocking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the season. We'll kind of transfer right now because my distraction until mid-August is going to be this baseball team that has been performing very well since April 9th. I believe they are like the best team in baseball. You guys probably know a lot more about them than me. Why don't you go ahead? What jumps out other than the pitchers being hurt and them scoring a shitload of runs?
Yeah, last time me and Tyler talked, they just finished sweeping the Rangers, and we were talking about, I think they'd just gotten up to 500 or a game below 500, and we were talking about found money. We're taking care of business in the division. We'll see how the next stretch goes, and all we've done is win every single series since then. That's 1, 2, 3, 4,
7.
5 straight series.
I think it's 7 series, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 7 total, 5 since we last talked. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But 7 straight. It's been an awesome stretch. T, what's the biggest contributor? Is it just the Polanco Renaissance? Who's getting credit for this?
I think it was exactly what Joe said. It's like the pitching is injured and the offense is smacking the crap out of the ball, and it's just kind of everybody, except Julio. Like that's the thing. It's like Julio has been a pretty mediocre player, all things considered, for what our standards are for Julio. I think he's basically a league average player when it comes to WRC plus, but in terms of production from what we expect from Julio, it's like he's been, middle of the road. Polo is he looks like an MVP candidate right now. If he were to be playing every game, he would be in MVP conversations if it was the first month of the season. But hopefully he can sustain that. I think John and I talk a lot about overexposure of some guys, and there's a potential for the Mariners, all this production coming from guys like Mastrobuoni, Leo Rivas, guys who we didn't expect to produce that are producing. And And so we'll see if they can continue to do that as the season goes along and pitchers see more of their at-bats and they can kind of adjust to them. It's what we see a lot from Dylan Moore every year, where Dylan Moore starts off the season hot, then goes ice cold for 2 months because pitchers are like, oh, this guy can't hit an outside slider. And then he gets hot again once he readjusts. It's what we see from Dylan Moore. Just we're going to see that from 6 guys on this Mariners team. So
it sounds like Julio, though. Sounds like Julio. You just throw him 3 sliders and then he just is out. He did have a clutch. He did have a clutch double today.
He did.
You guys saw that, and then that bottom third. I mean, they moved JP to actually lead off today, but that JP's bottom third. Yeah, just between Rivas, who's the third? Rivas, Williamson, and
Williamson's
and
good.
Crawford. Williamson's been. I mean, ever since we don't have a guy at third base. I mean, he might be the best defensive third baseman we've seen in a long time here. So,
yeah, he's batting .283. We weren't expecting that from the young blood getting the call up. He's been a lot more consistent than I think we could have hoped for. I'm the harbinger of doom when it comes to the Mariners. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And
me too.
Williamson and Moore and Rivas are all batting over 280 is, I think, a place for some regression. But, Randy and Julio are batting a combined 200 so far this year. That number is going to go up. And, Randy's been awesome. He's been so timely with his plays. He always seems to get hits when they matter. But when they don't matter, he's not doing anything. So it's been a real balancing act. I guess there's one guy I know that deserves a special shout out. We've been talking about Polanco all year. He's just been so awesome.
Yeah.
One guy in the last couple of weeks that's been a stud. But Joe, do you have a favorite so far this year? Do you have a favorite Mariner standing out to you that you're like, man, I just love watching this guy?
I have the opposite.
Even better.
That would be number 39, Donovan Solano. I cannot stand that guy.
He had 2 hits.
I don't care. He's had 4 hits in 3 games. I still want him gone. Something about him just pisses me off. And like Rowdy Tellez, he's only good. He's like the Jaguars. He can only play in different countries. He goes to Canada. He hits 3 home runs in 3 games. He comes back. He sucks. He's just like the Jaguars under Urban Meyer. His only win was in London with the Jaguars. Rowdy Tellez will be the Urban Meyer-led Jaguars, from what I believe. So if we could just go to Toronto every week, that'd be sweet.
That means he's going to make it all season before getting fired, though, right? Donovan Solano might get DFA'd, but Rowdy Tellez, if he's going to last like Urban Meyer, he's going to be all season.
No, he didn't make it. No, Urban didn't make it the whole season.
I thought he did. Was it like second to last game?
No, he was one of the coaches. He got fired pretty quickly after the Seahawks game, I think. It was like November. It was early.
It was a disaster. He was in the picture.
I got to look that up.
With girls at bars, and he didn't travel home with the team. That was a disaster.
Dude, so I've been to every Seahawks game since the year before COVID. Obviously, I didn't go to every Seahawks home game during COVID because fans weren't there. There was a lot of people dressed up like Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence at the Seahawks game. It was Halloween, by the way, in 2021. So there's a lot of people dressed up like Urban. I got to see Urban coach in Seattle. That was wild. They lost by a lot. No, Polanco. He's a beast, dude. I hated him. I was so pissed that they brought him back. I was just like everybody else. I was like, oh, this is your big free agent acquisition. And I texted, I think Tyler runs your guys' Twitter. I texted him, I think it was last night. I was like, hey, Polo better not get caught for steroids because I think it's what it seems like what's going on.
It has to be.
He's going to get tested. The question is, will he fail? That's going to be the question.
Yeah. And you
Go ahead.
This, but obviously, Solano's been trash, and there's no argument about that. Solano's been awful. But what me and Tyler found out, we cracked this thing wide open, is that, there's the curse. There's the, overpaid, this guy's going to fix our offense curse. And Polanco had it last year, and he was trash. And then Solano came in and took all that bad juju onto himself. and it's unlocked Polanco and allowed him to become the stud that he is. So, Solano, he's a sacrificial lamb. We owe that guy a debt.
That's fine. No, it's fine. Send him to Tacoma. I don't even care what you do with him. Just bring up that who's that kid in AAA at first base? He's batting like 300. Bring that guy
Locklear?
up. Yeah, sure. I mean,
Luke Raley just got put on the IL, so I would expect Locklear to come up. I know that they just called up Rylan Thomas. I would expect Locklear to come up relatively soon with Raley on the IL. And if Solano continues to, he may have gotten a few hits over the last few days, but if Solano continues to perform generally as he has been, I would expect to see Locklear up here sooner rather than later.
And then at what point do we just teach Harry Ford how to play a different position? Because obviously he's blocked for 6 years, and I don't care. Send Garver down and do what you're doing with Garver with Ford, but have him play right field or something. I don't know. Anything.
The thing about Harry Ford is he's so malleable as a prospect. It's like this guy could come up, he could play second base if we wanted him to. He just needs a few games to kind of get that under his belt. And so I think with the Cal extension, we're likely going to see Harry Ford either on the trade block, and we might see him moved for maybe a first baseman or a second baseman this season. Or we see him come up and kind of try and take over that middle infield spot that Ryan Bliss, with the torn bicep gets removed from, and Dylan Moore and Mastrobuoni, and kind of the balance between them and Jorge at third is kind of, I think we're just going to bring up Harry Ford at some point if we need to play the middle of the infield, or Cole Young. Harry Ford is kind of expendable. That's as weird as it is to say. I think he's just kind of an expendable dude in this franchise. I like him a lot, but I think his value is too high to just bring up as a backup second baseman to have sitting as your 26th man.
Tilly's awesome for another franchise. I mean, that's what kills me.
It's true.
We're Mariners fans, right? So I know we're a little young. We're obviously a little young, but I mean, you have David Ortiz. Get rid of him, right, as a prospect. You have Jason. I'm sure I'm up right there, and I'm sure I'm continuing to break up. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Well, this is actually, it's good you're cutting out, man. Nobody wants to be hearing you list all the prospects we've lost.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, he's back. AT&T over here. I love that.
You guys just have at it for a sec while my internet thinks about what it's doing.
Sure. But yeah, the prospect thing is always interesting. There's obviously room in this lineup for some young guys to make their niche if need be. But yeah, with the way everything's working right now, hard to be throwing different pieces into a machine that's running this smoothly. Sorry, go ahead, T.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, I think Cole Young is more likely to come up than Harry Ford if it comes to that. We'll throw him at second base, take over that second base spot, and then Dylan Moore will move to first base. Luke Raley may be on the IL for an extended period of time, but it'll be Tyler Locklear. It'll be Cole Young, who's kind of in that quad A spot. Even though he's not hitting super well right now, the Mariners have kind of indicated that they're ready to give him a shot. So we'll see what they end up doing. But I think in terms of order of prospects that's going to come up at this point, it's going to be Locklear, and then it's probably going to be Cole Young, and then Harry Ford might get a cup of coffee at the end of the season just to see how he plays out. Or he'll get traded by the end of the season, and he won't ever touch T-Mobile.
For a pitcher, maybe. I'm a little nervous that they might need a starting pitcher. Logan Evans looked sweet the other day, but then again, it's like you're basically what you were saying about Dylan Moore, but the opposite. Wait till these guys get studied. So, anything else on the Mariners you guys want to touch on? Who's your guys' favorite player other than Polanco? He's the man. So,
well, I gotta say the guy I think has been, Polanco's just been a monster since day one, and then we've had some other guys fill in some gaps nicely, but the guy that's really put it together in this stretch as they've been ripping out these wins, I think you have to talk about JP. Mr. Giant Penis himself, Crawford, has been just tearing it up. if you look at the way he started the year, it was a no-show. He was batting sub 100 in March. At the start of that Houston series, heck, at the end of that Houston series, he was only batting 125. And since that time, during this stretch where they've been ripping off wins, he's increased his batting average 200 points. He's gotten like 12 walks. He's now second in walks, third in batting average. He's just really reinserted himself as a key cog in this offense. And I do think it's so important. He is kind of doing what we were hoping Robles would do before he went down. So to see JP kind of return to form has been, I think, a huge part of the success the Mariners have had in the last month.
Yeah, and he cracked the game open today.
Yeah, he did.
I think over the last 10 games, he's hitting like 500. He's hitting almost 500. Like he's been crushing the ball, hitting. I saw a list, I think at the start of the weekend that was like, JP Crawford is one of 28 qualified hitters who hasn't hit a home run. And then he's hit, over the last week and a half, he's been hitting 500 and has 2 or 3 home runs. And the guy's just popping off every which way. So really cool to see from JP kind of returning back to his form from a couple of years ago, since last year he had all those injuries. So that's been very, very pleasant to have happen, especially with Robles gone.
I buried the lead there a little bit. You were talking about he's been getting a lot of hits. He's gotten a hit in 15 of his last 17 games, including a 9-game hit streak, including those 2 home runs. So yeah, it's been wildly consistent and productive for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I got a feeling he's chasing down DiMaggio for that 56. No, I'm kidding. One thing before we get off the Mariners, Munoz is a big thing too that nobody really seems to be talking about because he hasn't allowed a run yet this year, I don't think, and he hasn't allowed more than 1 hit per game. It seemed like he walks a couple, like he'll walk a guy and then just get ground outs. It's like we're seeing the second coming of Edwin Diaz in 2018. That's how efficient he is.
There was we were looking at baseball, or no, it was Fangraphs, looking at projected stuff before the season started. John and I were taking some bets on some of the Fangraphs stats, and one of the stats was Andres Munoz has 26 saves this season, and we were both like, "There's no way he has less than 26 saves. This guy is looking like a beast right now." I don't think there's any stopping him. He loves going from the stretch because he loves getting a walk in there. But other than that, he's doing great things.
Yeah,
I think he has 11.
Yeah, we would have crushed that bet. Yeah, 11 saves in 12 games finished so far on the year. Yeah, 19 strikeouts to 5 hits and 15 innings pitched. He's just been an absolute monster. And it's well said, Joe. It's almost a bummer for him because we expect such greatness from him that he's been perfect so far. Okay, let's talk about other people then. I don't know what Munoz has to do to get into the conversation.
Nationally, he can't. I don't know what it is. And I know this is a little ridiculous, but the whole trumpets thing with Edwin Diaz kind of pisses me off because once he went to New York, they're like, "Oh, this guy comes out to trumpets." It's like, dude, he's been doing that for 2 years in Seattle. What are you guys talking? I can't. Whatever. It's just what happens.
They'd get the Los Bomberos. They'd get that going if we ever traded Munoz, and they'd be like, "Oh, what is this new thing that's coming around?" And it would be we'd all hate it.
Everybody would be loving cats. I don't know if you saw. There was a Seattle Times thing this morning that he was like a cat guy. Rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I'm not a big cat guy, personally, but
you're talking to the wrong man when it comes to antagonizing cats.
This guy loves
I'm not a cat guy, dude. I don't know what it is. They just don't do it for me.
That's okay.
But yeah, so anyways, I think probably the last thing we're going to get to is Huskies football, if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah, quick Huskies football talk.
And how you feeling coming into this year? I'm stoked. I think DeMond is definitely going to shock a few people around the nation. He looks like Kyler Murray 2.0. And I don't like Kyler as an NFL quarterback, but there's no denying as a college quarterback, he was awesome.
I think Demond he definitely still needs a little bit of seasoning, but those first couple games, it really just showcased like the true talent of a guy with they're kind of giving the ropes to. They're like, hey, you're going to be able to be given these opportunities to make all these reads, whether it's a read option for an RPO or something like that. They're kind of giving him the keys and they're saying, hey, learn to drive this car. It's a stick shift. It's a little tough, but once you figure this out, you're going to have the ability, like you have the running capability, you have the passing capability to be a real threat here, and you can hit the racetrack here pretty soon. So I'm really liking what we've seen from Demond. And I'm excited. I think like if he sticks with the Huskies, there's like potential for him to be a Heisman contender if he sticks around for the next 4 years. He was redshirted last year, so he's still got 4 years to go.
He was redshirted last year?
I thought so. Maybe it came off once he started getting those starts. I think he was, and then started a few games, and that got taken off.
Because he appeared in every game last year.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, I think if he's as good as I think he is, I don't think he's going to need it. I think he's out after the 26th season. If he's that good, I think he's gone. And I think he will be a Husky. I think Fisch has committed a lot of that NIL bullshit to him, which is fine because we need a guy like that. I kind of going all over the place. The Huskies are kind of like my favorite thing to talk about, guys, just letting you know. I was not a fan of Jedd Fisch, especially the first half after the Apple Cup last year with that read option play to the short side with Will Rogers in and not Demond Williams. And then it seemed like every time that Will Rogers got hot at the beginning of last year, they just take him out and put Demond in, and it would kill the drive. And I'd be so irritated. But now I kind of see what he was doing for the future because Demond is obviously the future. And him along with Jonah back there all season, if Demond can stay healthy, is going to be dangerous. And Adam Muhammad was freaking awesome. It's kind of hard. I know he's behind Jonah, but Adam Muhammad did a hell of a job as a freshman last year.
Yeah, especially in the college game, fitting into running backs is not going to be an issue. It's not a Derrick Henry situation where Jonah's going to be eating all the carries. So, it'll be nice to split up the backfield a little bit. I guess here's a question for you, Joe. Talk me in. Give me your sell on UW football this year because, there were some flashes at the tail end of the season last year, but fact of the matter is, in the Big Ten, it was a bit of a mess. So, tell me why.
The Big Ten on the road was a mess. The Big Ten at home was fine. Every game on the road was a mess, or at a neutral site. We have not won a road or neutral site game since the Sugar Bowl last year. And the last road game we won was at Corvallis in 2023 at Oregon State. You guys said you're kind of like Beaver guys, right? So, yeah, that was the last game the Huskies won on the road. And that's when Jalen Polk couldn't catch a cold. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, tough game. I remember that was a big rain game, if I remember right.
Yeah, and just Jalen Polk couldn't catch anything and kind of redeemed himself because that kind of carried into the Apple Cup that year too. I don't know if you guys remember that, but just Jalen Polk was not the same. And then, I think the third offensive play was like a 50-yard pass to Jalen Polk, and he kind of caught back in the Sugar Bowl. But sell me on the Huskies this year. I think they upgraded the offensive line tremendously, bringing back I can't even pronounce his first name. Gagarion, Landon Hatch's brother, right? I think the difference is this year compared to last year. We went 6-6 last year, which all things considered is not terrible considering you brought 2 starters. And I'd really say 1.5 because I don't know who the 2 starters were. If it was Tupatala, Bruner, Elijah Jackson. They were saying 2 starters the whole time. It seemed like there was 3, but I feel like you're going to see a lot more continuity this year than you did last year.
Sure. Yeah, obviously a ton of turnover even at the top last season. Hard to roll that over into success while changing conferences. But I just more than ever it's playing with the big boys. Big Ten. I think last year was a real statement too of just like, no, Big Ten is the college football division. SEC is little brother, and maybe they'll take it back this year, but the crown firmly resides in the Big Ten as far as I'm concerned. And it's it's a lot of pressure for a program like UW that is used to having success and used to being one of the big boys, and they're going to have to improve a lot to be able to hang around with those top teams. I think they can. Obviously, as a program, they've had tremendous success, but I have some concerns about Fisch. I like he's I don't know, man. He had some pretty baffling offensive series last season.
The fish. I like the smell of the fish, dude. The fish has grown on me. We call him Jedd the Fish.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Gwen, I'm sorry. I think we're all Seahawked out tonight. You can go back to the first half hour of the show. I apologize about that, Gwen. But yeah,
John,
Tyler,
you stab it. Helping John get excited. Jedd Fisch is a guy who's I think he spent 3 years at Arizona and turned that program from like a whatever it was 3-8 team to
1-11.
1-11 to 11-3, I think, in the number 15 team in the nation over a 3-year period, which is a really crazy turnaround for a program that really didn't have a lot going for it at that time. I think Jedd Fisch is a guy who recruits really well. So it's going to take, a year or two to kind of figure out how things are going to improve. But once we see that improvement, I feel like it's going to be pretty drastic pretty quickly. So to go 6-7 last year in a year where Will Rogers, to be quite honest, sucked for like half the season, like those games that we lost on the road, there were reasons that we should have lost those games. And most of that was attributed to Will Rogers. And I think Grady Gross. Yeah. Gosh, what a turnaround that man has had in a negative way. We all loved him 2 years ago.
and positive. He ended the season strong, dude. That Michigan game, he definitely hit some clutch field goals against Michigan.
Yep. But yeah, I think this program is going to take 2-3 years to really get its footing in the Big Ten, and then once that happens, they'll be they won't be the Ohio States where they've been in contention for a decade because they're going to be behind them. Like they're going to have to surpass them to get to that point. But I think they can be what Michigan was last year and be confident in playing in the Big Ten and kind of be in that top 8 spot that we kind of thought they would be in with Will Rogers, and Will Rogers just didn't perform. So I think we can get back to that relatively quickly, and then we'll see where we can go from there.
Sure.
I don't know. I think this team might surprise you this year. I really do. John, don't give me that.
I would love to be surprised.
John, don't give me that look. I think this team's going to be. Don't be surprised if they win like 9 games this year.
Well, that'd be great, man. I'd love to see it. And yeah, I have no doubt that the UW program can get there. There were just some issues last year, but yeah, improving the quarterback is obviously the most important one, and I think we all agree that moving on from Rodgers, this is a much better situation, much more dynamic quarterback situation. So,
except Will Rogers did start that Michigan game. That Michigan game was worth losing every game that season. That was freaking sweet. When everybody started storming the field, I was like, dude, I'm not going to go on the field. And then I was so drunk, I was like, fuck it, dude, we're going on the field.
How was it?
I don't know. It felt like victory. I had a Michigan fan take pictures of me and my friend on the field. I'm not a college student. I wasn't in there with everybody. I was just like, screw it, dude. I'm gonna go down here. At first, I was like, we'll just let all the kids go on the field, right? Like that's cool. And then I started seeing like 70-year-old guys on the field, and I was like, dude, I'm definitely going down there.
I had some buddies make it down. You weren't alone. Anybody was down on that field.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up here if that's cool with you guys.
Yeah.
Why don't you just kind of tell them about your channel before you get off and like why you guys started it, whatnot.
Yeah. So those of you that have stuck around this late, we gave a little bit of an intro at the start, but yeah, Sound Up Seattle is John and I's podcast. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, and we basically just talk all things Seattle and Washington sports. We talk college football, we talk college basketball, especially Gonzaga when the time comes. I know John gets excited for that. We talk Seahawks, Mariners, a little bit of Kraken, a little bit of Sounders as those seasons go along. Sometimes we talk about them if they're in the playoffs, especially. We try and stay in tune. We love to give Sonics updates if there are any. So if you guys are all into the basketball scene, we love to have those fans as well. But other than that,
there won't be John, for a while.
It's coming back.
Couple years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years till they're playing, I guess. But not to cut you guys off, I tell everybody this. I'm not a big basketball fan. But I'm assuming you guys have both watched Sonic Gate like 1,000 times, right? If you are basketball fans, if that happened to the Seahawks, I would absolutely fucking lose my shit. I'd probably just like move. That's how pissed I would be. That I feel so bad for the people that the Sonics were their basketball team. Like, I don't even know how you could go, like, continue like that.
Well, especially when Kevin Durant then goes and wins 3 MVPs. It's just one of the best offensive forwards in the history of basketball. Insult to injury is that you were watching that guy as a rookie and lost out on 15 years of that. But don't worry. It's they're going to come back, and it's going to be a healing moment for the city. I'm super excited. They're going to suck at the start like most expansion teams do, but we're going to pick off OKC's 4 best bench players. That's going to be our starting rotation. It's going to be great. We're excited.
Yeah. Well,
John, anything that I missed before Joe signs us out?
No. If you like Seattle sports, and if you sick of hearing this guy talk about football all the time, you want to hear some college basketball talk, come join us.
Yeah, go see the. Sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, go see these guys for being like, oh, the Sonics are gonna come back. We're getting the Kings. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, guys, I know I've said it twice, but their link is in the description. So make sure it's the first thing. Click that link, click subscribe, and make sure they got a really cool thing going on. So, but yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.